Thank you, Alfonso. And thank you for coming. I want to share with you my enthusiasm for things Maya. Alfonso mentioned experts. Well, I'm not an expert, but I'm an enthusiast. So now's your chance to lead if you want to. Okay. The Tren Maya route is 1,554 kilometres long, and the government instituted this program, which is the program for the improvement of archaeological zones. These federal institutions are part of the program with an inversion of almost 5,000 million pesos. They're going to improve 29 archaeological zones, build 10 visitor centres and 8 museums. In addition, in Merida itself, they're going to convert the Ateneo Peninsular, which is the big building beside the cathedral, into the new Museum of the History of the People of Yucatan. So this is their program for the Tren Maya. This is a summary of what is going to happen, or what has happened up until December 2023. Here is the route Maya and all the archaeological sites that will be attended to. Along the route so far, they've discovered all of these buildings or parts of buildings, 1.5 million pieces of ceramic, domestic artifacts, pieces that are being restored, 699 graves or burials, and 2,000 natural features which are related to human habitation, such as the cenotes or caves, second-story forest, for example, things that indicate that people have been inhabiting the area. These are the museums that will be constructed, the special space in Merida. These are the 10 visitor centres that will be built, and these are the 29 zones that will be attended to. There are 7 stages, or tramos, as they're called in Spanish, and the first one goes from Chiapas, Palenque in Chiapas, to Escarga in Campeche, crossing Tabasco here. This is a summary of what they found along this first section of the route. Oh, sorry. These are the buildings or parts of buildings that they've found, 2,500, and these are the domestic artifacts that they've encountered. These are the pieces of ceramic that they have investigated. 177 burial sites have been discovered, and 38 natural features associated with human habitation. These are the stations. There are 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and these are train stops. A station is the complete works which has everything that you might want, and a stop is just a stop along the way, get on and off. Okay, so these are the 3 sites that they intend to develop or improve along this first stage of the route. The first one is Palenque, or to give it its true name now, is Lacamha, which means great water. This is part of the new infrastructure and visitor centre that will be built there. And here is the artist's impression of the visitors centre, the entrance. Here is the introductory palapa that we saw before, the toilet area, the walkway for shopping. Here is the shop for handicrafts, and here is the food hall. The attention to the actual site here in Palenque is concentrated on the cathedral here, the castle, the palace. In this area, the climate, the sun, the wind, the humidity, the rain causes a lot of deterioration in these buildings, as well as the bats, lizards, birds, and the vegetation that grows on the building. And so here they are working to restore the stucco ornaments of the 13 pillars in the palace, and also here is an example of one of the pillars of the stucco ornament. Here is a pillar, you can see that it's lost a lot of its stucco, and here is a medallion. There are 13 of these medallions. They are unique to Palenque, as they probably represent the governors of the site. And all this stucco work will be restored and protected. In addition, there's this mound that's a bit out of the usual tourist area, but has been there forever, of course, but never investigated. And so with the new funds, they've decided to investigate it and to excavate. It's important because it's one of the very few buildings in Palenque that dates from the early classic period. So it was very important for this reason. And so they excavated and discovered this little hole in the structure and inserted a micro camera and discovered this funeral chamber that hadn't been seen for 1,500 years. It was painted red with human figures outlined in black, dating from 450 to 550, and the funeral offerings are still here. No skeleton, but they believe it probably belonged to maybe the founder of the dynasty. The famous burial sites in Palenque are Pakal and the Red Queen, and they were buried in sarcophagus. But here, the body was apparently laid directly on the stone floor. There's no coffin or sarcophagus. So this was a major discovery in Palenque. When they were building the hotel, they discovered another burial site and a funeral chamber where they found a primary burial. This means that the person was buried directly in this place. That was his burial, his grave. A secondary burial means that someone was buried somewhere else and later moved into the other grave, the second grave. And so there's an offering there, and the first figure is in the prone position, mouth up, lying on his back, facing to the north, which is the typical burial position for people in Palenque. The secondary burial was a woman, and why she was moved to this site we don't know. And along with her there was another skull. Where that came from and who it belongs to, no one, I suppose, will ever know. Here is the mess of bones of the second burial that were put into the first grave. And here is the original grave, the primary burial, with the gentleman lying on his back, mouth up. Here is the skull that belongs to someone unknown. A third amazing discovery was made by these Mayan workers these are members of the Choles or Tzetzales groups, Mayan groups in Chiapas, and they were working on this area, which used to be a stone workshop for Palenque, and now they're working on this area of sanitarios. And they discovered this well-made grave. And it's the grave of a woman, and so she has been nicknamed Senora Sas, S-A-S. Okay. Senora Sas has this well-made grave and turned out to be a very interesting woman. This is her skull. This video, I keep pressing the wrong. This video is very interesting. This chap talks about the skull and what it means and what it tells us. And it tells us that this person, this woman, had skull modification. Now, in Palenque and generally in the Mayan area, the skull modification is the tabula obliqua, which is this kind of modification. But this skull has the tabula erecta modification. So she was pushed, her skull was pushed up in this manner, which means that she doesn't belong to Palenque, she's a foreign woman. This is further confirmed by her mouth. 4 of her teeth and a canine have green stone incrustations. Oh, I've done it again. You can just see here the green stone incrustations. And this again is not a feature of people from Palenque. And so it confirms that she's a foreign woman and of high status, because skull modification, obliqua or erecta, and incrustations in the teeth, and graves such as she was buried in, are signs of high status. And so she's a high status woman from outside of Palenque, but buried in a very strange position under a stone workshop. Here she is, most of her bones are there, missing her head, the other chap has it. Okay, we move on to the next site, which is called Moral Reforma. It's called Moral because in this area the mulberry tree abounds, and mulberry in Maya is mora. Reforma because a little town next to this site is called Reforma. In this area they're excavating 3 new buildings, okay, 6, 16 and 18. This is an example of their excavation of one of the new buildings. This is the original double pyramid, amazing double pyramid in this site, and the 3 buildings that they're going to excavate are here, this one here, and another one beside the double pyramid. This is the first one, Edificio 6, and it discovered that it was a huge palace. It covers 1 hectare, which is 2.5 acres, on multiple levels, with sunken patios and stairways. The second site was this long one in front of the pyramid, and here they found a couple of burials, and these artifacts, spear points, beautiful carved faces, and part of the sculpture. And as well, on the site they found this stele, which they know belongs to this man here, Muwan Hul, from 650 DC after Christ, and it shows him with 2 captives. This is a traditional way of representing a conqueror with his captives. They are kneeling or sitting at his feet, and there's a part of an inscription which they can read as the Divine Lord of, but they're not sure what this name is. This is the third structure that they excavated, and very interesting one, because here in front of the stairway they found this. 5 skulls, no body, just 5 skulls. They all belong to males. 2 of them were aged 15 to 25 when they were executed. 1 25 to 35 and 2 35 to 45. 2 of them had been decapitated ritually. So these were found at the bottom of the staircase. Below these were found another 8 bodies. You can see here that they have the typical skull deformation, the oblique modification of the skull. Many artifacts were found with them, and of the 13 that were buried in this temple, 8 were decapitated and dismembered, and their body parts placed around the temple. They believe that it must have been a temple dedicated to the god of the underworld, and that's why these 13 men were sacrificed. The third site on this first stage is El Tigre, and they're going to rehabilitate the ball court and these other parts. This is the site as it is now, and if you see a circular temple like this, you know that it always belongs to the god of the wind, Ehecatl. This Ehecatl is another manifestation of Kukulkan, the plumed serpent. And because of this connection, they believe that this site, called El Tigre, is actually the site Itzam Kanak, which is mentioned in the chronicles but has never been identified before. If this is so, then this is the place where Cortes executed the last ruler of Tenochtitlan, Cuauhtemoc. And he executed him on February the 28th, 1525. Next Friday is the 500th anniversary of this sad event. Also, they've found another burial. This urn is a typical burial custom of the Mayan people. The body is placed in the urn. It has to be a big urn or a small body, as you can see from this one. It's placed in what's called the flex position, which is the fetal position, more or less. Although over time the bones sort of just drop and you can't actually see the position. But it's a high status burial because it's in this urn, and also this jade ring indicates that it was someone important. This chap is very happy to have found it, I think. Also, am I still, yes? Other artifacts have been found, spear points and knives. The new bridge to cross the river carrying the train line ran into a hill, and they thought, well, we'll have to go through the hill, and they discovered that the hill was actually a monument, and so they had to change the alignment of the bridge in order to preserve this new site that they have found called Boca del Cerro. Here they found this jade ornament, which is Olmec in design and shows that this area was in touch with the Olmec people away to the west. Along the way, with using new technology, they've been able to identify areas such as these burial sites, again, high status individuals, this one and the next one, and they've been able to do this by using this technology, GPS, satellite topography, and these sensors called LiDAR, or light detection and ranging. I don't exactly know what that means, but that's the new technology they're using. And it identifies places which you wouldn't normally be able to recognise. Stage 2 goes through Campeche, and the areas to be investigated are these two, Etzna and Xcalanquin. Okay, here is the usual classification of what they've found so far, including 281 burial sites, 250,000 pieces examined, okay, and more information here about what they've done. 3 underpasses for traffic under the railway line. These, I thought, were relevant discoveries, but I discovered that relevant also means important. So these are the important discoveries in this section. In Edna, this piece of this piece of a statue of an old lady. Here in Kanzakab, a piece of an architectural piece with glyphs, a pokpok of this head, and 2 beautiful plates. In Etzna, they are looking at recovering 4 main sites: Nohochna, the big house, the Temple of the Masks, the hieroglyphic stairway, and the Temple of the 5 levels. This is a plate that was part of a funerary offering covering a body, and it's considered to be very special because the paint is so well preserved. And they discovered it's well preserved because in between the layers of paint they used beeswax to seal the paint. This is one of the buildings that has been restored. It's called Nohochna. Nohoch means big and Na means house. This is the big house, and they think that possibly this was an area where people gathered to watch maybe some ceremony on the plaza. This is a new discovery, and they're reconstructing this building, structure 512. So this is completely new. This is what it looks like, dating from the post-classic period. The hieroglyphic stairway looks like this. It's going to be cleaned and protected from the elements so that it is back to its original condition as much as possible. Some different angles on that. Hieroglyphic stairways usually record history or dynastic relationships, conquests, wars, and the information here apparently comes from the 7th century. This is the Temple of the Masks, masks of the sun god, and they represent on the eastern side the sunrise, and on the western side the sunset. And this is an example of the beautifully modelled stucco on this site in this temple. The second site to be examined was this Kalumkin. These videos, this series of videos called City on Maya, there are hundreds of these, and you can view practically every Mayan ruin that exists in this series of videos. They're very good. The interesting thing here is this group of what's called the initial series. Initial series means the counting of days from the beginning of time, or the creation. And the mythical creation date is this date here, made up of 13 baktuns, no katuns, no tuns, no huinals, no kins. And this is the month and the day, corresponding to August the 11th, 3114 BC, is the creation date of the Mayan world. Okay, this is how they get those numbers. A kin is a day, and 20 days make up a month. 18 months then make up a year of 360 days, plus 5 extra unlucky days. Okay, 20 of those then make up a tun, another 20 katun, and that leaves you to the baktun, which is 14,400 days. And this temple records an initial series or a long count date, and there are not very many of these on the peninsula, so this is very important. The doorposts were carved to represent the governor and his grandson, who was also a governor of the site, and this is the initial series column. It says here that 8 stone blocks were illegally removed from the site and are now in a private collection in Mexico City. The lowest block is in a museum in Campeche. Okay. Here are some inscriptions. I don't know whether you want to go through all these, but the important thing is that the initial series date is this one here. 9 baktuns, 15 katuns, 12 tuns, 6 winas, 7 and 9 days, and this is the month, and this is the year. And it corresponds to 743, actually, the 28th of October, 743. Okay. What's interesting is that they have named here that the grandson, Kawal, his name, and the sculptor, Apasan, his name. So the sculptor gets a name on this monument. Another site, not originally in the plan, but that has been investigated, is this site called Cansacab. Cansacab means cuatro caminos. Can, cuatro, Sacbe, road. So this site means 4 roads. It's a big site, but all that's left are these mounds, because from colonial times, this site, the material on this site has been plundered in order to build, guess what? Roads. So 4 roads has been plundered to build modern roads. However, at the site they found this beautiful plate which has been carefully restored, and it's interesting because it features a being called a wayis, which is a protector of the elite. On this bench is a jaguar, or a person dressed as a jaguar, and the decoration on the 4 sides represents a turtle shell. The turtle was very important to the Maya. It represents earth, water, fertility, longevity, good luck, lots of things, and so it's a very important symbol. And this plate then is a very beautiful find. Another site that hadn't been intended to be excavated, but was, they found here a sacred place with two altars, a monolith in the form of a turtle shell, and this beautiful carved head from rock. This is the carved head. And this, Santa Cruz, is a completely new city discovered along the route. No one had ever known of this before. It doesn't appear in the archaeological atlas of the peninsula, so it's completely new. What's ironic is that the old railway line goes through the site, and I guess they made this curve in order to avoid what they thought were these hills. But they weren't hills, in fact, it was the remains of this city, which is called Santa Cruz N at the moment, and its location is a secret in order to prevent looting, because as soon as someone finds out, they'll be in there trying to steal things to sell them. Illegal trafficking of archaeological pieces is terrible. Okay, the third stage goes through Yucatan. This is the electrified stage and double lanes. Okay. This is a summary of what they have found and what they're going to do. 8 places are going to be attended to in this stage. So there's a lot of work to be done on the archaeological sites and not much work to be done on the burials. Only 5 here. So where are all the people of Yucatan buried, is the question. These are the most important discoveries they've made in Oshkintok, in Uxmal, and at the train station at Estacion Maya in Merida. In Oshkintok they found this beautiful bowl which belongs to one of the important people of the city called Cholom or Choloma. His name is known from other inscriptions, so that we know that he was an important person in Oshkintok. Where they were building, they discovered 3 more burials, 3 more graves, one of a male, one of an infant, apparently female, and one of a woman who died between the ages of 20 and 25. There are no photos of this available at the moment, but what they say is that these are important because they are the first burials of the common people that have been found. Most of the burials we've seen have been of important people, and they are in temples or pyramids or close to important monuments. But the common people lived in houses made of perishable materials with a dirt floor, and grandmother was buried under the floor of the house. And all the houses have disappeared, so where are all these common people? Here we are 7 blocks from the centre of the ancient city. Are we on the periphery of the city? And if we are, then maybe this is where the common people lived, and you are now sitting on Grandma's grave, perhaps. So there must be thousands and thousands of skeletons under the Yucatecan soil, what there is of it, because of all those thousands who lived for hundreds of years in these cities. So if you dig in your garden, you might find a skeleton. This is the most incredible find, the only one of its kind, and it's a sculpture, almost life-size, of a naked man, but the back of the sculpture is a phallus, and obviously is part of the phallic cult of the Maya and related to fertility. and an appeal to the gods for fertility for the land. This is how it was found. It weighs 150 kilos, 1.3 meters tall, without its head and feet, and they know that it was killed ritually. That means it was deliberately broken in order to mark a special occasion, maybe the end of an epoch, or the beginning of a new dynasty, or the abandonment of the site, something like that. And it comes from the late classical period. The hieroglyphic stairway in Oshkosh has been renovated and protected. And this beautiful vase, or bowl, the bowl of Sahal. Sahal is the word for a governor, a provincial governor, who commanded towns that were under the command of a lord or a king of the main city. And this is what the bowl says. It says here, a sakal is a type of governor, a provincial governor under the power of the ahau, who is the lord or the king of the region. And this is what is inscribed on his bowl. His cup, his bowl, to enjoy the fresh cacao of Sahal, the governor. Oshkosh that we know now is an area of 4 architectural groups with 22 buildings. But they know now that this site occupies 10,000 square meters. Okay? There are 300 new buildings registered in 14 architectural groups. And each of those groups has a huge pyramid. So in a few years' time, it'll be a very impressive site. This is some of the work being done around the site now. In Uxmal, the big discovery was this double-sided Stela 18, featuring here a goddess and here a god, easier to see on this drawing. Here's the goddess called Chakchel. She's wearing a grotesque mask, she's bare-breasted, she has the head of another god tied to her back. She's wearing a plumed headdress with a water lily and a fish hanging from it. She's very curious. And this is a god walking, obviously, he has his staff, a feathered headdress. This apparently is an owl, although I can't see it. He's wearing a mask, and this is a symbol of Turlock, the rain god. These bandages on his arms and legs indicate that he is the god of the underworld. Underneath the stele was discovered this grave, another urn containing the body or the bones, covered with this tripod dish. It was usual to cover the urn with a dish or to cover the face of the person buried with a plate. And this is the arrangement of the urns underneath. The 4 urns represent the 4 cardinal directions of the universe. And this is the bowl, the beautiful bowl. It says here, well, with writing and reliefs of enormous elegance. But they don't actually tell us anything. I can't find anything else about this enormously elegant bowl, but it's very beautiful. Okay, the 4th stage is the electrified double lane stage, going from Yucatan into Quintana Roo to Cancun. This is a summary of what they've discovered so far. and these are the two sites that are going to be attended to by PROMEZA. These are the stations, and this is one train stop. These are the important discoveries along this stage in Ekbalam and in Chichen Itza. But before they got to Chichen Itza, they passed through San Andres, and in San Andres there were three bodies of water: a cenote, a well, and a cave. And in the cenote they found this platform canoe, and they speculate that it was used to deliver ritual offerings into the cenote, because cenotes and caves are sacred places for the Maya. The interesting thing about this is that the wood, the organic material, dates from the 16th century, which is after the conquest. So that the Mayans obviously were continuing their ritual practices after the conquest, and it's this that provoked Diogo de Landa to hold his inquisition in the atrium of the church of Mani and to burn as many of these things that he could get his hands on. He didn't get this one, obviously. In the other bodies of water, they found a number of different things, including a human skeleton, mural paintings, paintings of hands, incense burners, stelae, ritual knives, and 40 bowls or vases, again ritually broken to mark the end of some stage. In Chichen Itza, the big event is the new Grand Museum of Chichen Itza, 400 original pieces in this new museum. This is one of the great discoveries, a ball court marker with a complete hieroglyphic text around the outside, and two ball players here in the centre. You can see them better on this drawing. This one has a headdress of plumes, and this one a headdress of serpents. And this is the other beautiful discovery, Chichen Itza, a warrior with a helmet representing the plumed serpent. Beautiful sculpture. This is a new stucco decoration on the Acropolis at Ekbalam, and it represents a lord of the city with his crossbones on his skirt, and he's holding here the hair of a captive. Obviously, in a war with another city, he captured this probably important person, and a typical captive, they have to sit or kneel at the captive's feet. Okay, these marks are the ropes that bind his arms behind his back, usually naked or just a loincloth to increase his humiliation at being captured. And what is interesting to me is that obviously the Mayan men had long hair, because this is a common attitude for the captors to hold their captives by the hair. So, very interesting and beautiful sculpture. Also in Ekbalam, they discovered this tapa, or lid. The Mayan vaults are like this, and at the top there's a lid or a plate put across to complete the vault. And these plates are often decorated or painted, and this is one of half a dozen that have been discovered at Ekbalam. This one has a serpent in the shape of a cave filled with water, again because the serpent and the caves are sacred to the Mayan people. Okay, stage 5 is divided into north and south stages, north and south, and so far they haven't produced one of those beautiful summary diagrams. Those from 2023 weren't produced until July 2024, so all the work from 2024 probably won't be released until July 2025. But anyway, we know a bit about this site so far. One of the places to be investigated is this little site right at the tip of the peninsula called El Meco, possibly originally called Belma, which name is known, but they don't know exactly where it is. It's called El Meco because there was a ranch here, and it was looked after by a man with a malformation of his legs, and for that reason he was nicknamed El Meco, and he's associated with the site, and now the site is named after him, which is a nice thing, I think. This is the site. This is the biggest building on the site, and the infrastructure here has been upgraded, and this site was opened for the first time in December last year, so it's only 2 months old. Further down the coast, on the island of Cancun in the hotel zone, is this site called El Rey, and it's a zone of 47 buildings. What's important about them is that they contain mural paintings and drawings which have to be preserved. This is the most important building in El Rey, and close to El Rey here is San Miguelito in the hotel zone. San Miguelito is possibly the most important site on the island. 50 burials have been discovered in this site, and many of them are infants who apparently suffered from acute anemia. And so maybe that's why there are so many burials there. These are some artifacts that have been found at the site, and this is the most important building on the site. And here is the Palacio Chuck, which is a grand palace on that site of El Miguelito. This is another newly discovered city. No one knew it was there, and the train line was heading for this place, and the city was discovered, and they thought that they would have to detour the train line, skip Cancun, and go directly to Playa del Carmen, or they were able to work around it. So the train line now goes to Cancun, but the site has been preserved. It says here more than 300 structures, some of them at least 8 meters tall. So it was a grand city. This is part of the excavation. It's hard to imagine what's going to happen here, but presumably there'll be some building here eventually, although it doesn't look like it at the moment. This section of the train line was the most controversial of all. There was a lot of protests about destruction of the forest, but here it was the most controversial because this section is a section with an enormous network of caverns. Here it says 119 caverns impacted by stage 5 of the Tren Maya. And this is a system of caves in this area. This is the zone that we've been looking at of cenotes and caverns. And in this zone, they have pushed huge pylons through into the caverns in order to hold up the train line. Among the caverns, they've identified at least 5 that have some interest, although the photos that they've released so far aren't very good. But this one, Hacienda Matilde, has rock carvings in it. This one, Cueva de los Manitas, has these classical hand paintings, which are universal, I think. You can find these rock paintings in practically every ancient civilization or ancient culture. The third cave is this one, really amazing, because this is a complete Mayan temple. It still has its wooden roof inside the cave, called Ocho Balas. In this cave, Mayan people took refuge during the war, the social war, and they left behind 8 bullets, and that's why it's called 8 bullets that they found in this cave, left behind by the Mayan fighters. The last cave of the 4th cave is Los Monos, but I couldn't find any photo of the famous monos of this cave, only these geometric patterns. But here it says that among these representations you will distinguish figures of men mounted on donkeys. I'm thinking, wait on, the Mayan didn't have donkeys. So these carvings must have been made post-conquest. Palms of hands, figures in the form of a cross, geometric figures, and figures of men hunting deer. Okay, I can believe that. The 5th cave is the jaguar's claw, and here is an example of a bowl that they have found within this cave. This one is called the hiding place, and they speculate that this was a place where ritual objects were put for safekeeping, and so they were hidden there to keep them safe. The second section of stage 5 deals with these 5 buildings. Okay, this is the summary of what they've found so far. Just one burial, but 7,000 bits of buildings. The first place they are looking at to improve is Tulum, and there they will be looking at 7 buildings and conserving the stucco decoration on those buildings. A new discovery here was a chultun. A chultun is a cistern, underground cistern, generally used for catching rainwater in order to supply water for the city. But this one is inside a house. So it obviously wasn't meant to catch rainwater. They think probably to store food or grain. But at the end, it probably had a ritual function, because at the bottom of the chultun they found human bones. So it was probably then a burial site. They were creating a new walkway through the site when they discovered a cave sealed by a great rock. And they removed the rock and discovered a very low cave, but with 2 chambers, and inside the cave there were 8 male bodies, skeletons, very well preserved. And with these skeletons, excuse me while I find my notes, with these 8 skeletons they found a lot of animal bones. Okay, these are bones of the animals whose bones they found. I haven't counted them, maybe you will. A dog, a rat, a zaragoya, a bat, a deer, an armadillo, a tapir, a peccary, 4 kinds of birds, and some reptiles such as a turtle and an iguana, fish such as a tiger shark, a barracuda, a mero, and 2 more, plus crabs, snails, rays, and frogs. Who on earth collected all those bones and thought of putting them in here, and why? As a funeral offering? It's amazing amount of animal bones in this one place. In Shellhar, they are concentrating on conserving the mural painting in 2 temples, changing the signage and improving the area, the ticket area and the services. This is one of the mural paintings, original, and after restoration, this is the mural of the birds in the Temple of the Birds. And this one is the Temple of the Jaguar. This is the original, and they've been able to digitally produce this image, which you can just see here. I think there's the upper claw here. Okay, here are the eyes, I think. So, but they've been able to discover that this is what it looks like. The next site is Mugil, and here they are working on conserving, changing the signage, improving the infrastructure, and reconstructing the ticket area and service area. Not much work, they haven't advanced very far so far. This is where it is, way down the coast, towards Chetumal. The site is beside a lake of the same name, and the area was quite important commercially, apparently. This is the plan of the site. This temple is important because there are mural paintings here which have to be conserved. Here, the highest temple on the site, they have found many offerings of rings and beads and ornaments. And this is another section of the site. Okay, in stage 6, oh, it's nearly time. Do you want me to stop here?
No.
No? Okay, I'll go quickly. Stage 6. Okay. 4 sites to be investigated and conserved. These are the service centres on 3 of those sites. Here are the 4 sites here. This is Chap Choben. It's the 2nd most visited site in Quintana Roo. This is what it looks like. And this is it from the air. It's not very large. This is the most impressive building on the site. Okay, the next site is Ichkabal. This is a very old site, older than Chichen Itza, and it has this enormous building, 46 meters high, and the base 200 meters, 4 times the size of the pyramid at Chichen Itza. The whole site is 30 kilometers square. 8 years of study, possible opening in 2018. I don't think it is yet. This is the enormous pyramid, 4 times the size of Chichen Itza. This terrace is 160 meters long. 5 temples are long, only 1 has been given attention so far. Here is a temple with masks that are going to be conserved. The next site is Zibanche. This is a picture of the site. This is how it looks now. This is the LiDAR, or light detection and ranging image of the site, and it's believed that Zibanche and Kinich-na were perhaps one city originally, or sister cities. Kinich-na means house na of the sun god, and this is the main temple, or three-pyramid acropolis, three-level acropolis in that site. Oshtanka, further down the coast. This is a digital tour of the site created by one of the archaeologists in order to take you around the site in chronological order so that you can see how the site grew, building after building. This was a residential area where there's a burial in the sitting position. This is one of the 5 positions that the Mayan used for burial. You could be prone on your back, mouth up or mouth down, or you could lie on your side, left or right, or you could be in the flexed or fetal position, a good position for putting in an urn, or you could be put in a sitting position with your knees up under your chin. And this one apparently was in the sitting position originally. Let's go through these. In front of the pyramid there were 3 altars, and in one of the altars was discovered this burial. This here is actually a plastic skeleton, just for didactic purposes, to show how the grave looked when they opened it. Here is a beautiful stucco decoration at the entrance to this building. At the entrance to this building, it's supposed to be a stylized jaguar, and this is how it looked originally. This is what it should look like, and this is how it is at the moment. This is a colonial chapel, and only one of 3 that were built inside Mayan ruins. The other 2, as you know, well, one is in Zibulchaltun, one is in Boca Iglesia, the north of Quintana Roo, and this is the 3rd one, built within the ruins of the Mayan city. A carved conch shell with inscriptions. This doesn't look much, but it's apparently very important. It's colloquially called a panucho, but it's a soapstone disc which was used as a lid for the bee holes, and it confirms that beekeeping was an activity of the ancient Maya. And in the site there have been many other things found, including this bead made of shell in the shape of a star. Okay, the last stage is stage 7. This is the god of death, a seated figure with no flesh that they have found, an important discovery, as it says there. This is part of the excavation of the site. This is the god of death. This is very important. This is the god Kawil, and he's only known before this from representations in the codices. This is the very first image of him that has been found anywhere in Mexico. He formed the top of this urn, which has the face of a god, and Kawil was the lid of the urn. This is another urn containing a body, and here, this image is the god of maize, the god of corn. This is, they said Kawil, but it doesn't look like the Kawil we saw before. Here, an example of the excavation work. Kawil Ledge is a very important site along the route, and this is the site. They're going to improve this site and open up 3 more monumental areas in this area. As they were building the road from the station to the archaeological site, they ran into a set of 7 buildings. These apparently were residential buildings of the elite on the outskirts of the city, and so the road had to be diverted around these buildings. 5 of them have been excavated so far. They're in this condition. These are the 5 that are being excavated, and 2 of them have been sealed for excavation in the future. Here they're going to preserve the sculptures of the masks of this temple in Kohenluk. There were originally 8 of these, only 5 survive, and these are the 5 that survive and that will be restored and protected. They're going to create a kilometre or more of paths through the site with 153 explanatory plaques along the way. Finally, Kalakmul, World Heritage Site. We know now its true name is this. There's a new museum there, already built. The visitors centre, the hotel with 102 stories, 144 rooms, a pool, spa, gym, bar, cafeteria, shop and parking for that many vehicles, occupying 3 hectares. This building, substructure 2C, has some very interesting features, as we'll see here. This is a frieze, 9 metres long, and this is part of how it is now. This is the building that it was on. Here is the frieze. This is what it would look like, or did look like, and here in the centre is the god Chak, this figure here. Okay, and on either side of him are the solar birds, here and here. This is a hypothetical reconstruction of one of the masks at the entrance to the building. The Acropolis is the most important building on the site, Pyramid 1, and underneath the pyramid is a substructure, an earlier structure, 12 metres square by 5 metres tall and completely covered with these drawings about daily life in this area, and this is unique in the Mayan world. Burials again, 26 graves have been found between Kalakmul and the end of the line. Again, they are elite burials because they have cranial deformation, they have funeral offerings. In one of the houses, the 5 houses that we saw before, they found this pendant or pectoral or choker. It's a shell, and on this shell there are carved 4 figures. It's a beautiful piece of work, and here also necklaces that have been found. It says here 112 elements making 10 different forms. So all of this here has been put together to create these necklaces, and that's the end. Oh, lights. I'm sorry we ran over time, but you were very patient, so thank you.